All right, welcome to another episode of How I Met Your Mortgage. So much entertainment for all of you today with this episode, or I guess later in the week if you're listening to the podcast in syndication. But I'm your host, Adam Smith, with Just the Tips Coaching. And with me, as always, is my co host, our marketing director, one of our coaches, and all around superhuman, Jen Wade-Bohr. Hey, Jen.
Hi, Adam.
How are you?
I'm good. It's
Good.
Monday.
Other than the crackhead trying to break into your backyard, manipulating the latch when there's really no lock. Cool stuff.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. Good time.
And welcome back to the show. And that's a very big deal for us because I was thinking about it as we were running the intro. There aren't that many people that we've interviewed on the podcast and want them back on the podcast.
Yeah.
So it's really kind of a special thing. And more importantly, apparently our guest is really, really good at web camera dancing to our cheesy intro song. You guys didn't get to see that, but I assure you her head bobbing back and forth made me chuckle when we immediately went live. So it was a little difficult for me to get back on track, but welcome back to the show, Kathy Nicholson. Hey, Kathy.
Hi, Adam. Thanks for having me back. I'm very honored to be a special returning guest.
Yeah, absolutely. And, it's funny because we have a really significant vetting process for the show, period. Particularly when it comes to real estate agents, even more so when it comes to real estate agents in our market. And it includes both business and personal. And we look at a lot of different factors before we even invite somebody to be on the show the first time, which gives us an opportunity to determine whether or not they'd be on the show a second, third, or last week, I think, was Grant was our guest, his fifth time. But Grant is our favorite librarian turned real estate agent. He's in the Bay Area in California. So always interesting to get another perspective that way. But yeah, so we determined before we went live that it had been 14 or 15 months since we saw you. Since we did this previous episode. We may have seen you since then, but our audience has not seen or heard you since then. So we'll put it that way. And it's been an interesting 14 or 15 months in the real estate business. Yeah.
Yes, I agree. Absolutely. It's been kind of a relearning type of year. It's been different, definitely, than the years past that we had known pre-COVID and during COVID. Definitely different. Have to be able to adapt and carry on.
Well, I think the only thing that seems relatively synonymous to me through those periods, a little pre-COVID, and forgive me, I don't know how long you've been doing this, and I probably should before asking the question. That way, if you give the wrong answer, I can call you out on it. No, I'm kidding. But I think the one thing that's been synonymous, while there have been a lot of other outside factors that have kind of driven the influence as far as how the real estate business goes, is that we've had a housing shortage for a long, long time. Jen and I never, ever come across an agent who's seen a buyer's market. Seen a buyer's market. And I started my mortgage practice in 2005. Jen, is that right?
Yes.
2005. Yeah. I've been doing it for a number of years prior to that. So I've seen those kinds of fluctuations. But I think if we're talking, anything since 07, 08, the synonymity has certainly been the housing shortage, the lack of inventory, those kinds of things. But I don't think it's an anomaly. I don't think we can spend 15 years doing it and calling it an anomaly. I think this is the face of real estate, that we're just never going to have enough housing to support the population, certainly the American population, never mind the fact that there are 8 billion people on the planet. That's obviously a very, very big number. I remember when 6 billion was, mind-boggling. And then obviously the distance between 6 and 7 was much shorter, and the distance between 7 and 8 even shorter. But we have a lot of people and we don't have enough housing. So what I would like to get a take on is, what are the things that you think, you see, you feel have been so violent, have been up and down, have provided this roller coaster ride in that time frame that you're describing, pre-COVID, COVID, current, and where are real estate agents adapting, absorbing, adopting, implementing? What should they be doing to be keeping pace with the roller coaster of all these other influences while still having to deal with what's probably a permanent face of real estate, which means a housing shortage?
Yeah. So I started in 2008, 2009 with short sales and foreclosures. And so I've seen kind of the gamut of the market. Fast forward to right now, the difference I see is the sellers are still wanting to price a little high. So as a listing agent, you have to have an honest conversation with your client and let them know we're going to price according to comps. And in my experience in the market, I'm Evergreen, Conifer, Pine, Foothills, Lakewood, Littleton.
These are areas in the West Denver suburbs
Yes.
for our audience that's not local.
Yes. If you price according to the market value or a little bit below, you're going to attract more buyers. So you have to have your clients trust in pricing. If you price too high, you're literally going to sit on the market. And if you're on the market longer than the medium days on market, then you're most likely going to be on there 21 plus days and get lowball offers because people are like, well, what's wrong with this house? It's been on the market 21 days, as opposed to when you price a listing correctly, lower than the market value, usually you're going to go on under contract in that for 7 days, maybe 7 to 12 days max. The other variable is it's kind of neighborhood and house specific on the houses that go quick. The houses that go within the 3 to 7 day range from being on the market, they're staged. They are more turnkey, with the buyer being able to walk in the house, get the feel and say, I could live here. I could have my coffee on this deck. Those are the houses that tend to get better offers and go under contract a lot quicker. So as a listing agent, you not only have to make sure you price right, but you have to make sure your seller's house is ready to go and can appeal to as many buyers as possible. And the other thing that I've seen coming back is that the buyers are out there. They know what they want. The inventory is still low. It's about 1.2 months worth of inventory. And the buyers have kind of made peace with the interest rates. They're like, okay, it's going to be 6s. Maybe if I can get 5.75, but it's going to be 6s. So I think that buyers are coming to peace with, okay, 6 is good. They're going to offer on your listing if it's turnkey or move-in ready or, staged. And they might offer over ask if it's a competitive market, but they're gaining their negotiation power back is what I'm seeing. And so we have listings going under contract again in the 7 to 12 day period at asking or over asking in multiple offer situations. But then coming on inspections, your buyers are asking for multiple repairs. They're not afraid to ask for that, or concessions to buy the rate down. So that's what I'm seeing. So again, as a listing agent, you have to prep your sellers. We're not only have to price right, but you have to be ready for the buyers to ask for things on inspections.
Okay. So we're still always going to circumnavigate an arena where education is key. We'd have to be doing a good job in that arena. But there's an additional wrench in the works that's going to relatively be unique to our market. And I couldn't tell you how other states handle their tax valuations. But Kathy, you came to my house. I want to sell my house. You came here and you told me you're going to put it on the market for $750,000. And then bam, the county sends me notice that it's worth $950,000. Now we know that's not true, and those are actually legitimate numbers for my personal situation. And when I saw that valuation notice, I called a real estate agent that I know well and said, "Hey, if this is accurate, come put a sign in the yard." He said, "No, you can't sell it for that." And I said, "I know. And yes, then go ahead and get me the documentation I do need in order to contest that value." But here's an additional wrench in the works where everybody is being ridiculous. Not everybody is being ridiculously overassessed, but on average, that 2-year period, and here in Colorado, that is a 24-month cycle for those of you that do it differently. And the average is probably about a 50% gain in value from June of 20 to June of 22.
Mm-hmm.
And that has to throw another wrench in the works when
Mhm.
trying to educate homeowners on what's realistic when it comes to selling your home.
Mhm.
So an
Absolutely.
added
Yep.
challenge right now that is not regular and is way off the charts.
Yeah, and I and my team fielded many calls from our clients saying, the county has my house assessed at this, and will you pull comps? I'm going to appeal it. And we were definitely doing that on a regular basis. And again, it goes back to the education of your clients. You're pulling comps, from a certain radius from their house based on bedrooms, baths, square footage. In our case, acreage does come into play on that.
Sure.
And you're like, look, this is what the reality is. If I were to list your house, I'd list it around this price, this range. And so if you want to contest it, here's your comps to contest it. Otherwise, if you're going to sell your house in the next couple of years, then just be happy with the valuation, and it'll get there eventually. And hang tight on that. So.
Yeah, it's true. And granted, I certainly saw, I don't know, we've had probably a couple of hundred clients ask us to look at the data. I'm certainly not a real estate agent. I'm not a real estate appraiser. We do run a couple of AVMs. For those of you not in the space, that's an automated valuation management tool. And I would say that half, it probably wasn't worth kicking that can further down the road,
Right.
opening the door to the assessor. When it
Mhm.
trickles down to what the actual tax difference would be, it was relatively negligible. It wasn't common that we were seeing hundreds of thousands of dollars between what the assessed value and the appraised value would be, but it certainly did happen. There
Mhm.
were a handful of those. But yeah, just another wrench in the works where obviously real estate agents, particularly if you're going to work on the listing side and secure those clients, get the property sold in a relatively quick period of time. And I think that that's something else that's really important to understand, is that a quick sale, by historic definition, is essentially an average timeline and a requirement today. 21 days,
Mhm.
that's nothing. A balanced market is defined by a 6-month inventory. We
Mhm,
used to expect it
exactly.
to take 6 months to sell our house or find a house.
Yeah.
So 21 days being at the long end of that now because of the scale, and that the inventory is 10% of what it should be for a balanced market. Then we've got to understand that that timeline is going to be 10% of what it should be as well. If I told you I needed to sell my house fast, in your mind, that's probably 3 days.
Yeah, get
And
under contract in 3 days.
And if I told you I needed to sell my house in a normal
10-day
path,
closing.
you're like 2 weeks, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I think that that's important for all of us to kind of look at this from a much greater altitude and realize that this picture has shifted. Things have changed, probably permanently.
Right.
I
Well,
don't see this area having the 30,000 listings at a single moment that would be what defines a 6-month inventory ever again.
right. I think that bottom line is people are always going to need to move or want to move. So my clientele is never ending. I just have to make sure I'm out there, getting the clients, but people are always going to want to move. I think like COVID made everybody realize, obviously you can work from home and you can live everywhere. So there was a big frenzy like, hey, I'm not going to stay in Detroit. I'm going to Colorado or wherever. So I think a lot of our frenzy and people got moving during COVID because they realized that, and because the interest rates were very attractive then. And so I think right now we're coming to kind of a grid in that. People kind of have settled where they already wanted to be. They've made that initial move and they're like, yeah, I do like where I'm at and I can work from home. The other thing is, because the interest rates are higher, they were in the 7s, now the 6s, we have kind of a seller gridlock. So those sellers that maybe thought about moving and didn't make the move during COVID, during the low interest rates, they're like, ooh, I don't want to sell my house and then move to another house to pay more for that house and have a higher interest rates. So we have some sellers questioning where they thought they were going to move now this summer, this spring, where they're like, you know what, we're going to stay put another year, and they're taking their money and they're doing upgrades so that they can have a more attractive house and get a little bit more for their house. So we're having a little bit of a seller gridlock on that, and I think that's contributing to the low inventory where we are right now. And then on the flip side, the buyers are like, okay, we have a low inventory. The good ones are going to go fast. I'll pay the asking price, but I'm going to get mine in concessions or inspection resolutions. So I think through the COVID years, people are where they want to be. And if they wanted to move, they're kind of second guessing it right now.
That could be. And thank you to all of them. I would be willing to bet in the pandemic and post-pandemic era, I've written more home improvement loans than in the entire remainder of my career.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, we certainly have opened doors to people making the space what they want rather than finding a new space.
Right.
I think that there is an awful lot of that. Also contributing to the inventory shortage. One of a ton of factors that we may never see the reverse on, which is fine. So one of the things that there were two things that you had mentioned. The first one I want to say is that for all of you that are out of state, and particularly those of you in Detroit or in the rest of the murder mitten, Kathy didn't mean anything by it. She happens to be 100% correct. If you've been in Detroit and never in Denver, or vice versa, and you've seen them both, you know exactly what she's talking about. But I promise, no offense given. But Kathy, a big part of what you had said that I want to circle back to is that you're working very diligently in staying in front of people. Mm-hmm. What does that look like today? What kinds of activities are you doing? What kinds of tasks are you exercising in order to ensure that happens?
Two things on that is Buffini. I was white when I got
Brian.
Yeah, thank you, Brian.
He does listen. He has had his fair share of embarrassing me in public.
I love it. Yeah,
no
of course,
question.
I can see him doing that.
He has.
But I started in the real estate industry, and my mentor took me to a Buffini weekend event right away. And that's the foundation of my business, is making sure my clients that have trusted me to sell their house, they are my A+ clients, and I stay in front of them through the notes and magazines and postcards and client events. And so when it is time for them to sell, whether it's 2, 3, or 10 years down the road, they're calling me because I've stayed in touch with them. The other thing is to get new clients. I believe whatever you're doing, be the best at what you're doing. So how can I be better? I am continuing learning, and I know my community. So whether you're in the mountain community or like a downtown area, you need to know the areas that are selling. You need to know the schools. You need to be an expert in your field, be the best that you can be, and then show that to the public that you're marketing to. We have staple events in the Evergreen Rodeo. In Conifer, it's our Elevation Celebration that's this weekend. Come out and see us. We have booths and we advertise that. So social media, the postcards, I still do old-fashioned mailing, and things like this, the podcast. I love being on your podcast, and I have my own podcast too.
Plug it. Come on. Plug the podcast. You're here.
Real Life with Kathy Nicholson, and I only use one L to kind of just be cute. But it's about real estate, but it's also about the people that I've met in my career. Real people. I've had people that are battling parents with Alzheimer's. We've dug into that. I've had people that have been injured traumatically in a cycling accident and how they recovered from that. I have my own adoption story on there, so you can kind of learn a little bit about me personally. So it's all aspects of life. And that's what I love about my job, is I get to meet so many people, and I generally care about them. And I think they feel that, and that's why they keep coming back and keep me on their list for their agent.
And Jen, that's you pinging the website for Kathy's podcast. Cool. So our video cast watching audience will get that, which is really neat stuff. How long have you been doing that?
I started last year, and I think I did 10 episodes last year, and I've recorded 3 this year. I'm kind of a bit late to get started, but there's no time frame on podcasts, and you can listen to them at any time. So yeah, I started it last year because it's always been something fun, and I like to share the people that I meet with the world, and it's just exciting.
It is. And don't get discouraged. We are halfway through our 6th season, doing roughly 40 or 45 episodes a year. And it probably took 4 years before it really took off.
Okay,
Oh, yeah.
well, I'm fine with that because I enjoy it, and so I don't really have any expectations. My main goal is to, bring people together and just let them enjoy my podcast.
Cool. Yeah, I think that's a valuable piece of the puzzle. So hopefully we'll drive a little more listenership for you here at this point. Let's get into the time machine here.
Okay.
Because I'm really curious about what you think technologically, lead generationally, and certainly in real estate is coming down the pipe for us the rest of this year, next year. That pretty much covers the bandwidth for when we'll be able to get you back on the show anyway. So, Jen, you're booked through 2024?
Almost. I think I have 6 spots left. Maybe.
So we're about 18 months out from being able to book additional guests. So what does that time frame bring to mind, Kathy? What do you think we're going to see?
Lead generation wise, I see more people trying to pop into the investment side of things. And maybe if they're staying put where they're at, they might be looking at a second home like you have one. And I just kind of started that. We have a second home in Texas. And so I think we're going to see a little bit more of investment type of situations. But basically, lead generation, I think, is, again, a solid foundation of, keeping in front of your clients and getting referred.
Are you doing anything with AI?
Not yet. I'm just learning about AI, and that kind of helps me with my descriptions in the MLS.
That's good.
Yeah.
I think
so you are doing something with it then.
Yeah, I think that's probably the first best step to use AI. If you're a real estate agent, if you're a listing agent, then yes. Understand that different platforms behave in different manners, that they all behave in a garbage in, garbage out manner. If you really want to get good results from AI in the space, kids, give the AI good information and you'll get back good information. And I think, and Jen talks about this a lot at our events and with our coaching clients and so on and so forth, particularly in the real estate space, that if you're not using AI for your graphic work as well already, you're probably missing the boat.
Mm-hmm.
But Jen, how many people do we come across on a regular basis that have yet to or just started doing video work when they should have 10 years ago?
Mm-hmm.
So we know it's going to be years before a lot of them get on the bandwagon using AI as well. But I sure wish people were a little more adopting that way, particularly when it comes to the technology that can make things a little easier, a little better, a little more productive. You could be as productive in less time. Work on that work-life balance shit. Or you could be more productive in the same amount of time and do a little more business. And maybe that's your work-life balance shit. I don't know. But for those of you, and I don't know, what do you figure, Jen? Kathy's in the 1% of people that have at least started to take that step into using AI for their real estate business. Please, everybody, follow in Kathy's footsteps here and start using it, even if it's just for the legitimately practical application of helping you write listing descriptions.
And I took a class, Adam. I mean, again, education is key. I took a class on AI, and so I kind of dipped my toe in it there. But I think it's getting familiar with it, and I am probably the majority of where it takes me a little time. Like, okay, I kind of see it. Same thing with the videos. When I do open houses, I'm more apt to do a video while I'm at my open house and kind of do a quick little walkthrough and add the music to it. But it took me a while to learn how to do that. And also with the reels and the stories and things like that. So definitely, I think it's keeping up with the trends and learning how to do it correctly. But don't not do it because it's not perfect.
Oh, that's valuable. Yes, take
Yeah.
imperfect action.
Mhm.
No question. Otherwise, you'll fall into that analysis paralysis. And it's funny because in theory, open houses lend that ability. I helped a real estate agent. Actually, she obviously works a very similar space to where you are. A lot of foothills properties and just west of Denver mountain properties. And this, let me put it this way. I got to this house where there was no cell phone service, and I was really glad I brought my 4-wheel drive. I would have been walking a long, long ways had I not. And it was so busy that the open house lasted an hour longer than she had planned for, and she would have never had time to shoot a video. There were people that were coming that she couldn't even talk to.
Yep, I've had those
So
too.
I was so excited for her, and that and this is a relatively rural property. It's sitting on 35 acres. It backs to national forest, on and on. And yeah, the volume of traffic that she had on that listing blew my mind. I was so proud of her. So yeah, that is a lot of it, no question. The video work, make sure you put YouTube Shorts in that list of short format video that you were rambling off there, Kathy.
Yes.
I mean, if you're already doing the reel, if you're already doing a TikTok, if you're already doing a story, YouTube Shorts.
Yep.
Oh, that's
no
right.
question. Oh yeah, huge traffic there, no question. Let's not forget that YouTube is still one of the biggest search engines on the planet. Maybe
I do forget about YouTube.
Yeah, I think it's
number
second.
2
It's number 2 to TikTok.
to TikTok now. Yeah.
Search engines are now ranked TikTok, YouTube, and Google.
Oh, okay, I'm
Yeah.
writing.
Yeah, so all of you listening, take advantage of those kinds of tools.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of integration. Our video editing tool has AI built into it, as an example. There's a lot of integration between what AI can do for you and what video can do for you. And Jen, I'd be willing to bet we're going to talk about that at some point in a future event we're going to have. And I know we talked a lot about AI, a lot about video, a lot about the integration of these things at Social Media Day, which we did last month. It's funny because I've had a bunch of people reach out asking me when it is.
I saw that.
And I was like, you missed it. Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, check back next year. But we are going to do another event unique to the mortgage and real estate space in the fall, our seventh annual Mile High Mastermind. And we're probably going to cover a lot of this stuff as well.
Yeah, a bunch of you will see invites on Facebook. I just set up the little Facebook event for the Mile High Mastermind. But yeah, September 29th and 30th is our 7th annual Mile High Mastermind. This is the 4th one that we've done together, Adam.
Wow.
No, I'm 5th. 5th. That's nuts.
Wow.
Okay. Nuts. I love masterminds. I think they're invaluable. I have a mastermind group that I'm part of with the Berkshire Hathaway Network, and there's an agent from we have 8 agents, and they're all from different states like California. And so you kind of get to know what's happening all over, and people have different ways to do lead generation. And I think sharing is caring.
Yeah. So our mastermind is a nice balance between like those small intimate masterminds and big events. So we have same people come back year after year. We'll cover AI. We'll talk about LinkedIn a little bit more because I don't think you can ever know enough about LinkedIn. Fun fact, Gen Z is the most active generation on LinkedIn now. They have kicked off the older generations.
That's not on your top 3, right? TikTok, YouTube.
Well, those are the top 3 search engines.
Not social media.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm sure we'll talk about video. I'm going to talk about content creation tips. It's always a fantastic event. So it's September 29th and 30th. You can text tips to 63566 to get that info. Get a copy of Adam's book, get past episodes of the show, free hour of coaching, literally all the things. But if you are on Adam or my friends list and you're a real estate agent or a loan officer, you'll probably see an invite to the Facebook event page too. So you can get all the details there. as well.
I look forward to that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I said
it's a
I
great
know I
event.
just sent you an invite, Kathy. So we'd love to see you there.
It's a great event, and a huge thank you, because we never give them enough credit, to the University of Denver for partnering with us on this event. They've always been, they've been wonderful partners for the Mile High Mastermind, and we're grateful to be part of the DU family that way. All right, Jen, I think you really kind of took it home with the door opening to talk about AI and video, and getting that stuff out there about the event. Other than that, I don't know what else is really relevant. Kathy, thank you so much. We know how hard it is to carve this kind of time out on a Monday when you're busy and have it planned 16 months out. Well, 14, I guess, 15. So thank you for doing that. And let's get you back on the books for another episode. Not a lot of, we're narrowing down the field here of people that have been on 3 or more times.
Woo!
But this has been an awful lot of fun. So we will do it again. And for the rest of you watching or listening live or in syndication, thank you for tuning in. You can catch episodes of the video cast of How I Met Your Mortgage live on Mondays at 10:30 Mountain Time. And you can then catch the podcast the following Wednesday on Apple, Spotify, and Amazon podcasts. Again, How I Met Your Mortgage, presented by Just the Tips Coaching. Thank you all for tuning in, and we'll see you next week.
Thanks, Adam.